In a slice-of-life show, it's only natural to focus on the various relationships that can be found in a person's life. This includes platonic, familial, and even romantic relationships. Of course, Hey Arnold is no exception, from the unrequited crushes to the ups and downs of married life. So, which of these romances are a love story in the making and which are better off broken up? I'm Caleb with Wicked Binge, and this is Hey Arnold Relationships, Healthy to Toxic. As always, we're going to start off with the healthiest relationships before working our way down to the more flawed ones. We only have a few of them, but they really are some of the best. These are the healthy relationships. For our gold medal of healthiness, we're giving it to Milos and Stella, Arnold's parents. Talk about a power couple. While the jury's still out as to whether or not their decisions made with Arnold as a baby make them good parents, they certainly make for a healthy relationship with each other. Throughout the journal, we saw Milos and Stella working together nearly perfectly and supporting each other. Stella never looked down on Milos for being so clumsy, while Milos never felt jealous of his wife's strengths or intelligence. Working together, they were able to do great things, like temporarily eliminate the sleeping sickness and even save a whole group of people while on their honeymoon. These two really did seem like the perfect couple, and while yes, that may have been due to an idolization on Arnold's part, we still felt that we had to give them the gold medal. Earning our silver medal of healthiness are childhood sweethearts Gerald and Phoebe. Arnold and Helga might have been the main pairing of the show, but Gerald and Phoebe were always in the background, it seemed, slowly growing closer. It's a shame these two didn't get more of the spotlight, but when they were together, we got to see just how well they got along in the background. They were often sitting near each other and even rode the tunnel of love together while at the cheese festival. Additionally, both of them seemed to have a lot of respect and admiration for each other, and compared to their best friends and their love lives, Gerald and Phoebe hardly had any drama at all. Their relationship is finally made official in The Jungle Movie, but if we're being honest, these two were practically a couple even before then.
See you on the other side, handsome.
Getting the bronze medal of healthiness and being ranked as our final healthy relationship is Phil and Gertie, Arnold's grandparents. These two were always fun to see together, and while they didn't always get along, that affection was always there. In their childhood, Phil and Gertie were similar to Arnold and Helga, bullying and all. However, it's much easier to look past that given that we see how successful their marriage was. Though he may make comments on her craziness from time to time, Phil still accepts Gertie, or Pookie as he calls her, for who she is, and he'll even try to look out for her. As for Gertie, while it may be hard to see her true feelings underneath her wackiness, Gertie does show affection to Phil during her lucid moments and gives him advice during the Parents' Day episode. Really, any flaws with these two are pretty minor, and while they may not always see eye to eye, their love is still evident.
You still got it, Pookie. Aww.
Alright, time to move on to the couples that have some issues or may be a bit complicated but don't quite fall into the realm of toxicity. These are the gray relationships. First up is the like but not like couple Arnold and Lila. So yeah, these two are a bit of a grade school train wreck. First being established in the episode Arnold and Lila, we as the audience were pretty much told point blank that these two were better off as just friends. Lila was only interested in Arnold when she thought she had feelings for him, and even then the interest was temporary, while Arnold didn't start to have feelings for her until he started missing having her around. Talk about complicated. But while these two are decent friends, what really brings this pair down into the gray tier is the fact that Arnold kept pursuing Lila throughout the rest of the series. She told him repeatedly that she would rather stay friends, yet Arnold kept trying, even at one point getting Gerald's sister Timberly wrapped up in it. Though he wasn't too forceful about it, thankfully, it still kind of showed Arnold in a bad light. Next is Mr. Simmons and his partner Peter. We didn't see much of these two in the show, with Peter only having a major appearance in the Thanksgiving special and a cameo in the Jungle Movie. In the former, Peter wasn't very nice. He was pretty rude and condescending towards Mr. Simmons' mother, Pearl. We'll acknowledge that Pearl started it, but Peter wasn't exactly helping the situation. Peter also told Mr. Simmons that his tradition embarrassed him when Mr. Simmons suggested that they all say what they were thankful for. Needless to say, putting down your partner's tradition is a pretty awful thing to do. Still, we're cutting Peter a bit of slack as the holidays can be stressful. As for his cameo in the Jungle movie, seeing Peter hug Mr. Simmons and see him off before his flight was a nice touch and hints at a softer side to their relationship. So we felt that we couldn't place these two any lower. We finally come to the main pairing of the show, Arnold and Helga. Yep, these two managed to fall right in the middle between healthy and toxic. Though if we're being honest, that's mostly because we're cutting Helga some slack. Okay, so let's just get this out of the way first. As hard as it may be for someone to express their feelings, that's still no excuse to bully or torment someone. While it never went beyond pranks and name-calling, it still obviously frustrated Arnold, and we can't completely blame him for occasionally fighting back or refusing to give Helga a chance. Even when he lets Helga know that he likes her true self more, Helga still refuses to drop the act. On the other hand, we know that Helga does truly care for Arnold given all that she's done for him. From sacrificing her snow boots to helping him stop Shaq to helping him get a trip to San Lorenzo. Though, speaking of the latter, we feel that we have to take points off simply because Helga's main motivation of doing this wasn't just to make Arnold happy, but also as a means to finally win him over. We may sympathize with Helga's intense crush, but it was still a bit selfish as well as just kind of callous. This could also extend to Helga wanting to confess her crush despite Arnold naturally just wanting to focus on finding his parents. Yeah, while the climax and ending was sweet, the Jungle movie didn't exactly show Helga in the best light. But even with all these flaws, Arnold and Helga still have a strong connection to each other and still tend to gravitate towards one another. While Helga will try to show her love in big gestures, Arnold focuses more on giving Helga advice or just keeping her company when she needs it. The affection is clearly there, even if it's often buried under confusion and semi-fake anger. Ultimately, given that Helga still refuses to drop her tough persona even after she and Arnold get together,
Hey, who said you could touch me?
and we never really see the aftermath of this relationship like we do with Phil and Gertie, we felt that we just had to put these two here. Next up, we have Harold and Patty. Though never an official pairing, we thought that we'd give these two a mention anyway, considering that their relationship was the focus of 2 whole episodes. Although reluctant to hang out with each other at first, Harold and Patty's relationship starts when they end up bonding at one of Rhonda's parties.
My name's Patty. Oh, I like that.
They comfort each other and even end up hanging out afterwards. Unfortunately, it's Harold's pride that acts as the main obstacle, as once Sid and Stinky start teasing him about his relationship with Patty, he nearly abandons her. Thankfully, Harold was still willing to stand up for her in the end, and the two continue their friendship. Even after Harold's pride rears its head again in the episode Harold vs. Patty, their relationship manages to stay fairly strong. While Harold can often be immature and Patty can sometimes seem abrasive, the two clearly have an understanding of each other as well as a close bond and eventually even mutual respect towards one another. We feel that in a few years, these two could easily become a great pair. Just underneath them is actually another Helga pairing, Helga and Brainy. Again, not an official pairing, but given its history, it just needed to be mentioned. What started off as just being a running gag actually ended up being a bit more than that, though it still took a while. Let's just say right now that both of them were in the wrong. Brainy shouldn't have been so creepy and should have stayed out of Helga's space, and Helga shouldn't have kept punching him. We do see Helga eventually use her words to try and get Brainy to leave her alone following her first therapy session, though this is pretty much the only time she does this.
Okay, I'm not gonna hit you this time.
However, in the Jungle movie, we do see just how sweet these two can be. When Helga tosses her locket into the river following Arnold's rejection, Brainy takes it upon himself to get it back and even tapes up the picture that Helga had ripped up before giving it back to her. This shows that even while being in love with her himself, Brainy really does want Helga to be happy, even if that means he can't be with her. In return, Helga is willing to show him some affection as a thank you. It's a moment that's both sweet and funny considering Brainy's reaction to it, and that's what puts this pair this high up. Finishing off the Greys, we have Ernie and Lola. In the episode Ernie in Love, Arnold learns about Ernie's crush on Lola, a plus-size model. Arnold encourages Ernie to act on his feelings, and the two actually hit it off in spite of Ernie's nerves. They get along well, and not only does Ernie appreciate Lola for more than just her looks, but he's also encouraging and supportive. Unfortunately, we can't say the same for Lola, as she ends up turning Ernie down for a second date just because he's short.
I'm so big and you're not so big.
After Ernie stands up for himself, however, Lola realizes how shallow she was being and tries to make amends. It is admittedly a bit worrying that even after a great date, Lola would still even care about how they look as a couple, but given that Lola was willing to admit her mistake and try to make things right, we think there's just enough positive here to keep it out of the toxic tier. We have finally made it to the harmful and the most toxicity-filled couples of the series. These are the toxic relationships. Though technically a fake couple, we still felt that we had to give a mention to Helga and Stinky. Much like the Jungle movie, this is another instance that shows the not-so-great side of Helga's crush on Arnold. In the episode Helga's Boyfriend, Helga hires Stinky in an attempt to make Arnold jealous. Now, in Helga's defense, she was clear about her motives, so it isn't as if she lied to Stinky, and it wasn't her fault that Stinky ended up falling for her. Even so, setting up a fake relationship in hopes of getting a real one isn't a great look, especially when the fake relationship is so one-sided. Looking at Stinky's side of things, the fact that he even developed feelings in the first place and was so okay with being used and treated that way is also a bit concerning. We're just thankful that Stinky got over his feelings by the end of the episode. Just outside our bottom three, we have Coach Jack Wittenberg and Tish. These two are practically the opposite of Miles and Stella. While Miles and Stella worked together, Jack and Tish constantly competed against each other. Due to their competitive nature, practically everything became a challenge for them. What made matters worse was that whenever Tish was frustrated with Jack losing a job, not only would she kick him out without trying to find a solution to their problems, but she'd also usually taunt him as he was trying to succeed at another coaching gig. But hey, Jack's no saint either, considering that he felt that winning their competitions was more important than his own wife. Thankfully, Jack's love for his wife was able to break this mentality, and he ended up throwing one of their competitions for her sake. This is the main reason why we can't put these two any lower. We also acknowledge that, when they're on good terms, their love can be pretty passionate. Finally, even after winning at air hockey, Tish still challenged Jack to a rematch following their second wedding.
You asked for it, Tish. You're on. You're on.
So hey, maybe competing against each other is just their love language. Earning the bronze medal of toxicity is Rhonda and Curly. Whew boy, if you thought Brainy had his creepy moments, Curly just takes it to a whole new level. Beyond his general mental instability, Curly often acts reminiscent of Pepe Le Pew in that he tries to be forcefully affectionate towards Rhonda. He gives her pet names that she hates, kisses her without her consent at one point, and even asks if he could have a lock of her hair. Curly's worst moment was when he blackmailed Rhonda into being his girlfriend for a week in exchange for getting the stain out of her mother's new coat. That is just really skeevy. Rhonda can be, in return, pretty awful and cruel towards Curly, but like, can you blame her? Maybe her words when she broke up with him and Curly's girl were a bit much, but Curly is hardly the victim here.
Now crawl back under the rock you came out of, you slug.
At the end of that episode though, Curly is willing to sacrifice his fake relationship with Rhonda so that she can remain popular without having to still be with him. Yeah, it's nice and shows that he can be selfless, but we also feel that it's the least he can do after all he put her through. Even this moment is ruined though by the end of the episode. Bottom line, these two should never ever get together again. For our silver medal of toxicity, we're giving it to Oscar and Susie, the resident should have divorced years ago couple of the boarding house. Honestly, it's a wonder these two lasted as long as they did. Not only was their relationship toxic, but also codependent. Oscar obviously relied on Susie, given that he was too lazy to keep a job for very long. But you have to wonder if Susie put up with his garbage for so long because she wanted to feel needed. Either way, these two had a ton of issues. Oscar very rarely had any sympathy for his constantly working wife, while Susie, outside a couple of exceptions, was unwilling to put her foot down and mostly just stuck to nagging. Neither of them made much of an effort to fix their lives or their own relationships. And when Oscar did make an effort, Susie forgave him way too easily, which in turn made it all the easier for Oscar to slip back into his old habits. Still, we couldn't put them at the very bottom, as they do occasionally show genuine affection and love towards one another at times, like Susie being proud of Oscar when he learned how to read, or Oscar briefly refusing to take any more money from Susie. Granted, it isn't very much at all, but compared to our choice for most toxic, it's still something. Finally, our gold medal of toxicity is going to be Big Bob and Miriam. Yeah, of course the most messed up family in the show would end up being the most toxic too. Putting aside how terrible Bob and Miriam are as parents, we really have no idea how they even fell in love in the first place. There are never any moments of affection between them in the show proper, and even when one of them succeeds at something, the other barely seems to care. Miriam is so apathetic towards everything around her that she's pretty much stuck in neutral, while Bob will blow up and completely berate Miriam over her screw-ups, completely ignoring the cause of said screw-ups.
Everything's always going wrong at the worst possible time!
Ultimately, what puts this pairing below Oscar and Susie is that while those two can occasionally show affection towards each other, Bob and Miriam seems like a completely loveless marriage. There are no positive traits whatsoever, and we have to wonder if Helga would have been better off if they had divorced a long time ago. But let us know in the comments section if you agree with our ranking, and let us know what we should cover next. Remember to hit that notification bell and binge more of our videos. But most importantly, stay wicked.